champions from the Sleeper Wire Fantasy Football Show will help you win your fantasy football championship. Sleeper Wire, Friday 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Sleeper Wire on Dash Talk.
I'm ready for all to you all the pain, all the way.
Welcome, sleepers. Welcome back. Another episode to the pod. Glad you can make it. It's Wednesday, August 23rd, and yeah, we're here, guys. It's really exciting. We're in week 3 of the preseason. Some real stuff's gonna go on, and I'm not here by myself. I don't have any other Sleeper Wire guys, but I think I got somebody just as good, maybe, kinda, sort of. Got Marcas Grant with me, guys, from NFL Network. Marcas, thanks for joining us, man. It's a pleasure to be back on with you.
It's always good to be back on with you guys. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. We gotta get you that jacket, that nice, beautiful.
I know, right?
What is it? 3-4 jacket?
Alec Baldwin jacket. I know,
yeah,
right?
Man. We can get that crushed velvet going. You know, what's your favorite color? We got to make sure you get the color right.
The maroon. You can get like a 40. I think it's like a 42 long, something like that. You know.
Got it. So next one we'll have it ready, and we'll be ready to go. So Marcas, I'm glad you could come back on with us, man. I know you've been having a super busy off season. We all have. You're one of the best in the business that do it. You're so vigorous. You're so on it. And you also do, like, if I'm not correct, did you do, like, another podcast or, like, like off football or?
Oh, yeah. So I did.
Can we talk a little bit about that? It's not football related, but I thought it was interesting because, you know, I follow you and, you know, whenever you put it out, I checked out a couple episodes and I was like, this is interesting.
It's funny because I've been learning over the last couple of months like how many people actually check that out. Like I wasn't really sure, but it was. I decided I dug up this old kind of sci-fi type TV show from like the mid '70s, and decided I was just gonna watch and recap each episode and do a little short, 10 to 15 minute podcast about it. So, it was something that I did just for fun to kind of keep me interested. I have a weird thing about loving radio dramas, that nobody, whatever. So, my chance to do one. It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun, and it was definitely fun to listen to. If you guys haven't listened to it yet, what was the name of it? It was it was a guy like that. Where he had like a hat or something. What's his name again?
Kolchak the Night Stalker.
Boom, there it is. Yes, awesome name as well. How could you not pick that up and want to read it and then want to listen to Marcas Grant talk about it a little bit? So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool that you do that on your spare time as well. So very busy, man. Here we're not going to talk about the Kolchak stuff, even though we might have to have you on another potty for that one. But we're going to talk a little bit about recapping week 2 of the preseason. Any notables? A lot of people have strong opinions and not so strong opinions about the preseason. There's nothing to see here. Oh my God, it's so much to see here. Kenny Golladay is grabbing 2 touchdowns. He's going to be a stud. Calvin Johnson, right? What do we actually take away from week 2 preseason games? Help me out, Marcas.
Well, I think there are some things to take away. I mean, it's nice to see some guys flash talent. I mean, you mentioned Kenny Golladay, and the Golladay hype train is careening off the tracks. Yeah. Like this thing is out of control right now. Look, the dude's talented, and he made some really nice catches. Had a couple of really nice touchdown catches, but I mean, real talk, he is stuck behind a lot of guys there in Detroit.
Right.
There's Golden Tate, there's Marvin Jones, there's Eric Ebron, there's Theo Riddick. There's so many guys who are going to get the ball. It's going to be hard for Golladay to really, to carve out a big niche there. So love his talent, and maybe a year or so from now we're talking about Kenny Golladay, but this year I think you pump the brakes. The one guy that I did really keep an eye on was Devontae Parker, because I wasn't sure. I mean, we've been hyping the Devontae Parker breakout for like 2 or 3 years now.
Right.
It's always been on hold. But when Jay Cutler says after the game that he thinks that Devontae Parker is a faster Alshon Jeffrey, like that got my attention. So
yeah.
So, I think he's at best he's a wide receiver 3 on your roster, but man, I mean, that breakout could be coming sooner rather than later.
And wide receiver 3, I feel like when we talk about wide receiver 3, like you say wide receiver 3, a lot of people are kind of like, so what? He's a wide receiver 3. But that's a flex. I mean, he's winning games for you, right? Is he not? I mean, he's a wide receiver 1. Some weeks he's going to be a wide receiver 2. Maybe he gives you wide receiver 1 upside numbers sometimes. So, I mean, it's there, and I feel like a lot of times people are kind of brushing off the wide receiver 3. Like, no one wants them. You can't have nothing but wide receiver 1s.
Right. And that's the thing. I think sometimes we get kind of caught up in that when you talk about receivers. You can talk about running backs, too. Like, look, if you understand where you're slotting and what kind of production you're going to get out of a guy, then it's going to be fine. Like you're not drafting a guy. If you're going after a wide receiver or a running back in the 10th round, you're not going to get, Le'Veon Bell numbers out of that kind of guy.
Right.
So it's all about kind of managing your expectations. And so, Devontae Parker is a 3rd wide receiver. Yeah, he could be your flex. Sometimes he could be your number 2, depending on how your lineup stacks up. So it's not all bad just because, you look at a dude and he's not Odell Beckham. Like, sometimes that's okay.
Now, a guy associated with Odell Beckham pretty often didn't get a contract extension. Talking about the other guy on Miami, Jarvis Landry. How do you feel about Jarvis Landry? We just did a great debate. I took Michael Crabtree over Jarvis Landry. I'm kind of down on him. I just don't know how I feel about it yet, but I'm kind of down on him right now. And it's just, I mean, they paid Stills. They have Parker. They've been talking about all off season. I don't really see them just getting away from him, and I see them getting away from Landry. What are your thoughts on this whole situation here? Because I feel like a lot of people are just, no, Landry's going to be fine. Wide receiver 2, PPR easily. Are we missing anything? Yeah,
I still think he's a PPR guy, but I understand your feeling because, I mean, he's I don't know how to describe it, but I mean, this is the guy who, he gets a ton of targets, he gets a ton of catches, but the yards haven't been there and the touchdowns really haven't been there. So it's really frustrating. And so now I understand your fear. If Devontae Parker is going to become that big downfield threat, that takes away from Landry's opportunities underneath. I like Michael Crabtree better than I like Jarvis Landry right now, just because Crabtree seems to get those red zone targets that Landry doesn't.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I still think if you're looking at, Jarvis Landry's still a great PPR option. He's still a guy who could probably get you, 90 catches this year. Just, it may be like for 900 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, he is going in the 5th round right now. So hopefully people listen to this pod and they're just like, I don't like him either. And then he starts going in 6th round. And then I'm really happy with that. I do like his value in the 5th round though, right? It's 5th round. That's not bad. Krabs is going in the 4th. So I do like that. I don't know what to say about their following week in the preseason week 2. It seemed more just like nothing but the Ravens story. We saw a lot of Buck Allen. Not as much Dolphins stuff, it wasn't that exciting, at least for the Dolphins side.
Not really. I mean, I think the biggest takeaway from that is that Ryan Mallett is awful. He looked terrible.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to make of the Ravens. They have so many injuries right now. There's so much uncertainty in Baltimore that I don't really know what to make of it completely.
What about their running back situation now? I mean, there's a report saying, Buck Allen, I think a beat right. I mean, it was clear to see. I mean, if you're just basing it off of that one preseason game, and he has been good. He's a really good pass catcher. He's still there. No, everyone's kind of forgotten about Buck Allen. He's still there. Talaferro's always injured. Woodhead is going to be probably really good as far as passing, getting those passing downs, may get some rushing work. West, I don't know. So many, you just said it, there's so many question marks. I guess if you got to pick a guy from this backfield, where are you picking him? What round? I guess what round for each guy? So give me a round for each guy from this backfield that you're taking, and who you want the most.
I think the best value is going to be Danny Woodhead. Considering how much they threw to their backs last year. I mean, Kyle Juszczyk was a legit PPR threat at some point because he was catching touchdowns for them last year. So Woodhead slides in there. And he's a nice pick somewhere. If you can get him, if you can wait till the double-digit round, it'd be great. But I'd take a chance on Woodhead probably in the 8th or 9th round. Terrence West. I like Terrence West. I guess I'd give him a shot in the 5th round, 6th round, although I don't know how happy I'd be about it. I think Buck Allen at this point, and I say this as a USC guy, but I think you can get him for basically a dart throw at the end of the draft. If you decide you want to do that, but that's literally all that's going to be.
Are you drafting Buck Allen out of any of the Flyer guys? So you got Rex Burkhead there, Javoris Allen. Let me see who else is one of those Flyer guys. Kevin White's there. Who are you taking out of these guys?
Out of that group, I like Burkhead the most.
Yeah, that's another situation too, where you just don't know. But
tell me about it. I wrote a column last week to trying to figure that whole thing out, and then within 48 hours, I might as well just burned it. Like it didn't matter.
Oh yeah, I saw that. So yeah, it's like, oh okay. Well, it was a good attempt though. It was.
I figured I gave it my best shots, and I leave it to the rest of you guys.
For sure. All right, we're gonna move on to the Bills-Eagles game.
All I can say about the Bills right now is I'm so down on everything. After obviously Anquan Bolden retiring really changes what now you got Jordan Matthews who isn't healthy, and you got Zay Jones. That's kind of it. I guess you go back to Charles Clay. That's not really exciting, and you got to wonder now. If you got to knock Shady McCoy down a couple pegs on the draft board just because how much tougher is it going to be for him to run the football? So I don't know. Buffalo I went from being really excited about it. I love Tyrod Taylor. I can't draft Tyrod Taylor anymore. It makes me sad.
Yeah.
It really does make me sad.
Tears.
Yeah.
For sure, man. Tyrod, it hurts, man. But the thing that gives me a little bit of faith with the offense he has, he didn't have much of an offense last year as well. He had the threat of maybe Sammy Watkins playing, but for a long while we knew he wasn't playing. For a long while he was sitting on waivers, and then some people picked him up. Some people were able to play him in their championship game, help him, win a championship. Other than that, he kind of seemed to have the same. It kind of seems the same. Like he had that check down guy. What was it? Woods, or kind of play outside some down. But he was more, Woods, and none of these guys are super. I actually feel like Zay Jones and Jordan Matthews is a slight upgrade over what he had last year. He had Samuel Watkins for a couple games, not necessarily all of them.
Watkins, that was always the problem with Sammy. When he's on the field, the dude, he played great. He just, couldn't stay on the field consistently, at least the last year or so. I don't know. I guess I like what Zay Jones could do possibly, but this is a guy who really is built as a slot receiver. Now they're trying to play him on the outside, potentially as a number one. Jordan Matthews is just a big slot receiver. Even with Anquan Bolden there, it was weird. They had 3 slot receivers on their team and not really an outside threat. So now they're trying to change Zay Jones, so he's got to learn kind of something new. Jordan Matthews is a nice player. I don't know that he is somehow going to be a game breaker from the slot. I think that was something our friend Matt Harmon wrote about a couple years ago, that just trying to running passing games through slot receivers and how it's just generally kind of difficult for that simply because the routes they run don't lend themselves to big plays. So,
right.
I like I said, I want to love Tyrod. He was my late round sleeper for a while, and now I can't. I had to say goodbye. It's a weird breakup.
So, who's your late round sleeper these days since you kicked Tyrod to the curb?
Burkhead has become one. I've been on Adam Thielen for a while in Minnesota.
Okay.
He finished strong last year, and I think he's going to have a big year this year. I'm trying to think what else. Who are late round guys that I'm really keeping an eye on? I was saying Pierre Garçon, but he's now a mid round guy because everybody else jumped on Pierre Garçon.
Yeah,
it was fun when Pierre Garçon was available like in the 13th round, but now everybody's kind of figured that out.
Yeah,
that's like the 8th.
It's funny how just the fantasy community just. Man, we ruin a lot of stuff, huh? Don't we? You say a little blurb here, then starts to get wind, and it goes to that one and that one, and then we all start. Maybe that guy's right, and
right. Well, what's been funny to me? I said this on Twitter. I say this to like the guys I work with too. The funniest thing for me this summer has been watching all of us fantasy guys talk about certain players and talk about how, oh my goodness, it's amazing. This dude's ADP is ridiculously low. And then all of a sudden, a month later, the guy's ADP has gone up. Right. And we're all like, I can't believe this guy's so overvalued. How did this happen? I'm like,
like you did it.
Talking about how great Kenny Galladay was. Now
it was you, Dad.
People are trying to draft him.
It's like that the commercial, that smoking commercial, and there's like, Where'd you learn smoking? Where'd you learn how to do this? Dad. It was you, Dad. I learned it from watching you. It was us. It was us. We ruined a lot of people's values. I'm glad not as many people listen to this show as you guys, but because I am so in love with Kareem Hunt. I've been singing his praises for like 4 months now, and he's still going in like the 9th round, and I'm just like, oh my God, for me, I feel like he's better than anyone in the 5th round. I think he's going to start, and I'm just like, yes, keep his value low,
I'll tell you what, I've been driving the Kareem Hunt bandwagon since like March.
Nice.
And I think part of it is that no one believed, I think, a month ago that he was going to challenge for the starting job. I mean, I always thought that this was going to be Spencer Ware's job and that Kareem Hunt was going to have the battle to get the number 2 job from Charcandrick West. Now, all of a sudden, it looks like, even if he doesn't start week 1, like maybe he's pushing Spencer Ware more than we thought. And so I think for the most part, people have been kind of slow to pick up on that, or at least to draft him as such. So as long as you can still get him there, hey, consider yourself blessed, because I've been all about Kareem Hunt for months now.
Nice. I mean, he's, like I said, I didn't really see that many where I know I listened to who was I listening to the other day? It was another podcast. I can't remember, but it was some podcaster. They were saying how they love Spencer Ware a lot, and they believed that like the concussions were his problem. Before the concussions, he was fine. But I don't know. I just don't think he was ever really that good. And Spencer, I just think Kareem Hunt, even Charcandrick West. I mean, we'll segue into the Chiefs-Bengals game at this point. Charcandrick West had 7. Now, granted, it's some of it was against, second and third teamers. He had 7 carries for 113 yards. So I know some people even thought that West was the better back. Over where, coming into the season last year. So it was just kind of like one of those things that's easy to read, I guess. So I guess we can't really take too much kudos for it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. With Andy Reid, you're never quite sure. I mean, we're still trying to figure out life after Jamal Charles in Kansas City for a couple of years. But I just had a feeling this was going to be Spencer Ware leading off. But I thought Charcandrick West would actually push Hunt. I didn't think it would be this cut and dried.
Right.
And I know West had the big game over the weekend, but I haven't put a whole lot of stock in that just yet. Simply because we haven't heard much talk about him all throughout the summer. So, I don't know. I'm still rooting for my boy. I want Kareem Hunt. I still think he's going to be a nice sleeper rookie. But, we'll see how it shakes out.
Now, what about Tyler Boyd? Let's talk about Tyler Boyd. It's rumors. He's, I don't know if it's a rumor or I read a report saying he's the best, basically, number 2 they have. And he's going undrafted. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy. I know a couple of people are drafting John Ross as like a late round. But Tyler Boyd, if he's going to be the second guy.
I mean, can we talk about the fact? I feel like one of the least talked about stories all throughout training camp and preseason has been that John Ross has barely been on the field. That he went a long time, rehabbing from the shoulder surgery, I think it was. And he went a long time without getting on the field. And I just feel like that kind of went under the radar, and I'm not really sure why. I think that's an offense right now that pretty much their passing game funnels almost exclusively through, well, it's A.J. Green, it's Tyler Eifert, and then probably some combination of Gio Bernard and Joe Mixon. I don't know that anybody has put a lot of stock in who the number two, which is why you said it. Tyler Boyd is the best number two they have right now. Long live the days of Mohamed Sanu there in Cincinnati, or Marvin Jones in Cincinnati. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where they are, unless John Ross turns out to, get healthy and make big plays right away.
So who do we want, I guess, from this team? I guess we like Eifert. Where do you have Eifert right now in your rankings, if you have your?
I think I just shifted them around earlier today, and so I think I've got Eifert as my tight end 6 or 7, something like that. I mean, he's a red zone monster.
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of where I got to. He's a guy you definitely want because you can wait later. I look at him in similar fashion to Jordan Reed. Both are guys who put up a lot of numbers for you, but both are guys that may get hurt. If that's the case, then I'll take the guy with the better draft value, and that's Tyler Eifert right now. You can wait a couple rounds later and still get Eifert.
For sure. Anything else from this Chiefs-Bengals game notable? Nothing I could see. But anything? Nah. No hype about Conley. None of that. Or is that actually was it? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, who I just can't get excited about wide receivers in an Alex Smith offense.
Where do you have Tyreek Hill? That's interesting right now.
Oh, okay, so I guess he would be the one, but that's mostly because Tyreek's just athletically such a freak, man.
He's insane.
He is. I mean, I got him as a top 20 guy. I think he can do that. But I mean, that offense is pretty much the passing game's going to run through Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. I mean, Travis Kelce is essentially their other wide receiver. Yeah, that's how it is.
All right. Well, we're going to move on since those games weren't really that interesting. We'll go to a game slightly more interesting, I thought, was the Texans-Patriots game. And the Bruce Ellington, 4 catches, 93 yards. I was looking at that and I thought that's something I can buy. How about you?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I did. I was giving Matt Harmon a hard time because
he likes Bruce too, right?
Matt Harmon last year predicted the Bruce Ellington out in San Francisco. He thought for sure it was going to happen with the 49ers, and then Ellington gets hurt, misses the whole year, and every time Jeremy Curley would catch a pass or Quentin Patton would score a touchdown, Harmon would get a tear in his eye because he was like, that could have been Ellington.
Could have been my boy.
Right. So, I don't know. I really did think that was interesting. I mean, obviously they're with Will Fuller hurt, that job's open. Jalen Strong hasn't really ever separated himself from the pack. So, hey, why not Bruce Ellington? That I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and I was on that same train too. I was really hyping him up, and I mean, he had 5 targets and he caught 4 of them. He had 137 long. And I guess the other thing I want to talk about is the Donta Foreman, Lamar Miller. I know Lamar Miller's been falling on drafts, and I just don't understand why people are so down on Lamar Miller. It's crazy. I've seen Christian McCaffrey go before Lamar Miller, and I just thought this.
That seems a little bit. That's a little out of control.
Yeah.
Well, I think last year was like a season of disillusionment for a lot of us with Lamar Miller. Because a lot of people, myself included, had always said, this dude could be an elite back if only the Dolphins would give him more opportunities. Like, he doesn't get enough touches. That was always the complaint. So then when it's Houston last year, it was supposed to be, this is it. This is going to be the season that Lamar Miller gets all the carries we ever wished and dreamed he could get. And
we got
he bore down at the end of the year. It was just kind of like, it's a guy with, got 268 carries, just barely over 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns. It was just, I think a lot of us were disillusioned. And so now you add Dante Foreman to the mix, and Foreman's just a big bruiser who's probably going to get a lot of that short yardage work. He's going to get a lot of that goal line work. And suddenly, at 5 touchdowns, you look at it and you get scared that it becomes, 4 or 3 touchdowns, and then what do you do? So that to me kind of sums up, the Lamar Miller conundrum.
Where do you want Lamar Miller in fantasy drafts this season?
Preferably like the 4th round.
So he's not going to be on your team, basically.
Yeah, he's going to be on my team. I'm not. I'm just like I look at him and like I look at him from afar and it's like what could have been, and it just never was. It's like it's year 6 now, man. Like he is who he is now.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like last year, because I owned him in a ton of leagues last year. And I was saying like, oh, he can be an RB1. I was one of those people. Well, not only RB1, he could finish like the number 1 RB, definitely top 5 in my head. I was telling myself this, and it didn't happen. But I also felt like he just dealt with a lot of injuries, and he played through them. And they didn't really give him. They kind of did the same thing with McCoy. The Bills did the same thing with McCoy last year where it's like, look, man, just sit him a couple of games. Let him rest. Even his owners was like, dude, don't put him out there. Give him a rest and then let him go. Give me 30 points the following week. That's kind of how I felt with him. And I just feel like this year's, maybe he needs a guy that's going to be behind him, then breathing down his neck a little bit. I just felt like Donta Foreman had a little bit of a fumbling issue in college, and not to say those things can't get fixed, but I feel like Bill O'Brien's one of those guys that he likes what he likes. He wants to stick with what he knows for the most part. So I feel like he's just going to stick with Lamar Miller. If Miller screws up, then sure, I think Foreman's going to be there. But I don't have any. I feel like he's a safe. Even in round 2, you don't have to take him in round 2, but I feel like he's still safe there at the end of the 2nd round. And if you're getting him in the 3rd round, I think that's pretty good. But 4th round, man, that's stealing.
I don't know. Maybe I ate something bad. I don't know. I just feel down on Lamar Miller.
He hurt you. He hurt you, and yeah, he hurt me too. But I'm willing to forgive. This 1 year. It was 1 year. All right, we're going to touch one more team before we let you go, and I'm going to let you choose this one. So what other team from the preseason did you feel like it's kind of notable, kind of like talk about this? Might be something to talk about.
Let's see, where should we go? How about maybe because I live in Los Angeles, let's talk about the Rams.
Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah, let's do that.
Let's talk about maybe because I've been on a Cooper Kupp kick for the last week.
Oh yes, let's talk about Cooper Kupp. I love it.
I said before, like the Rams and what he does and where they're going to put him as a slot receiver, it was a really good fit for him. Yeah. And I thought early on that maybe he could lead all rookies in receptions, and everything I have seen from the Rams in the first 2 weeks of the preseason, nothing has convinced me otherwise.
Right.
They throw the ball to him a lot. I mean, a lot. I mean, 2 games. I mean, keep in mind, like these guys are playing maybe a half.
Right.
Dude's got 10 targets, already in the first 2 games.
Yeah, he had 7 last game and the touchdown. Yeah, man, that's.
I was at that game against the Cowboys. Actually, it was 2 weeks ago against the Cowboys. But he, yeah, I mean, the dude, like, they throw to him a lot, and it's noticeable. And here's the thing: he's going to be more of a PPR guy than a standard guy because he's going to be another one who may put up, 90 catches. I guess he can get like 85 catches. Right. He won't be a lot of yards, and it won't be a lot of touchdowns. It'll be Julian Edelman type numbers, that PPR, it's great. Standard, it's whatever, but just he's going to get the ball in his hands a lot this year.
So I'm guessing this is your sleeper as well.
The world hasn't quite caught up to the Cooper Kupp thing. I also think, part of it's going to be either the Rams gross, I'm not taking him, but he looks good. Admittedly, I'm not saying draft Jared Goff, but Jared Goff looked better. He has looked better. So maybe the game's slowing down for him. And if it really does, if Goff can get better, this whole offense is going to be light years better. You've got Kupp, you've got Sammy Watkins, you've got Robert Woods and Watkins are back together again. They both leave Buffalo and they both end up with the Rams. So how funny is that?
Yeah, Watkins can't shake him.
Right? And then and it all bears well for Todd Gurley. If the Rams can throw the football at all, life gets better for Todd Gurley. You know?
Yeah, I mean, they don't have to stack the box. I mean, they have that vertical threat. They have Kupp to. Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I love the, Cooper Kupp. I was more on the, are you yelling Cooper Kupp? I was yelling Zay Jones. And, I feel like they're kind of very similar in respect, but I want to buy into Cooper Kupp a lot more, especially since I didn't listen to you last year when you said that Mike Wallace would be a sleeper, and he definitely was. He was a number 2 receiver. So I'm gonna. Is Cooper Kupp the sleeper?
Cool. Yeah, I will stand by Cooper Kupp.
Nice. So Cooper Kupp, put it in your books, guys. If you haven't drafted yet, which you shouldn't have, because there's still some preseason games and guys get injured, like Odell Beckham almost did.
Can I make a PSA right now too?
Sure. Awesome. I encourage that.
Yes. Just a pro tip for anybody out there listening and playing. Like when something like that happens and a guy goes down, please do not flood your friendly neighborhood fantasy analyst with questions about what this means. I don't know, man. Like in that moment, I'm watching it just like the rest of y'all. Like I have no inside information. I don't know, man. Like I'm gonna have to wait on the results and the news breaks just like the rest of y'all. So like,
tell us,
I get it. I get it. I understand that you're worried. I understand that you drafted Odell Beckham and now it changes everything. But like, one, first off, dude's actually hurt, so like, calm down. But 2, I don't have any immediate information for you.
Sorry. Oh man. Well, you gave us a ton of information, and we always appreciate it. Thank you, Marcus. Where can our fans and your fans, if they're listening to us, they definitely listen to you. But where do those weirdos that don't know where to find people, where can they find you? Where do those people? In really more places than I should probably legally be. Okay.
Any one of the major social networks. I mean, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. I answer questions pretty much in all those spaces. Obviously we're on. You can find me at NFL.com. That's where I write for money. Fortunately, I'm lucky enough to do that. And then I've tricked them into putting me on television several times a week. So Fantasy Live is back on September 4th on NFL Network. In the meantime, we're actually doing shows. We are on NFL.com. It airs live at 4 o'clock Eastern, Monday through Friday. That's for the next couple of weeks. So I've probably given you information overload, but just know that I'm always around, sort of like a shadow. Sometimes you don't even want me there.
Got a little creepy there, but we wouldn't want it any other way. And man, you're always a pleasure to have on. Wealth of information, and thank you for being able to. I can do my. I'm doing right now. I'm doing like a little Bruce Leroy glow where I'm trying to suck your powers away right now. Some of your fantasy knowledge. That's what I'm doing right now with my hands. I'm hoping some of it seeps over to me. So I thank you for allowing me to possibly get some of that. And I'm gonna see you in the Pro-Am. Not in my Pro-Am, but the AFC Pro-Am. We have 2 Pro-Ams. NFC and the AFC. I got your buddy Matt, though, that I'm going to see. And it's going to be interesting. We just talked about the final settings of how we're going to end it. And so since we have 2 leagues, AFC, NFC, we'll have 2 champions. And then in week 16, whoever has the most points from those teams, that'll be the official Pro-Am champ. Like, that will be the champion. So 2 champs, and then, we'll have the overall one. So it's going to be a fun league to play in. Unfortunately, we are full, guys, so make sure you donate some dollars to Rob for next year. That's how you get in. $10 entry. That's your raffle ticket. Rob, if you don't know what we're doing this show for, it's for Rob, and he's suffering from chronic Lyme disease. He's battling, and he appreciate if you guys can give anything you can, $5, $10, even $1, whatever it is. It'll help. His family appreciate it. We will. We appreciate what we do. We appreciate if you do that. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, Marcus. Next time we'll have that jacket for you.
All right, cool. All right, man.
All right. Good night, man. Thank you so much.
All right, bye.
Only fantasy football radio show with more than a dozen multi-time, multi-league, multi-year champions. Listen to the Sleeper Wire show every Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on Dash Talk.